So now we're going to go ahead and attach the front fork or the front fender as well as the front headlight. So let's go ahead and remove the plastic from the front headlight. Pull that aside. And on the front fork here, there's a little set screw that we'll want to back out. And be careful when you do it because on the back, like that, there's a small nut that you don't want to lose. So now grabbing this front bolt, we're going to go through the fender into the fork and rest that there for a second. We don't want to forget to attach the light because if you forget, you'll have to redo this step over again. So before you put the bolt through to mount, we'll want to go through the light and the fender. And then back through the hole. The bolt from behind. Okay, so with our Allen key, we're going to make sure we get this thing as tight as possible so that the fender doesn't have too much wobble or noise. If so, it's not a safety issue, but it can be a little bit annoying to have that noise. So the next thing we're going to want to do is these fenders are going to come through and mount to here. So you'll notice that there's also a set screw right here. We'll back that out and we're going to attach the side supports of that front fender and our front end will be done. You're going to want to put the washer on the outside to clamp the fender support in. I find it easiest if you kind of hold the front wheel between your knees. There also is a kickstand on the bike, so you can always do that as well. And we will attach this like so. And again, we'll want to get this as tight as we can to prevent any sort of noise or road motion noises. Once we're hand tightened here, we'll want to get our Allen key, the middle size Allen key again, and tighten that fender. And now we'll go ahead and do the same on the other side. When you go to do the other side of the fender, because one side's tightened, you might need to apply a little bit of pressure to the back here to make sure that you have your clearance to get that other set screw in. Once you're in, you should be good to go. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and do the pedals. If you look on the inside of the edge of the pedal, there'll be an L or an R for left and right, and that is very imperative that we focus on that. So you want to grab the pedal with the R on the inside. We're going to start on the right side in your multi-tool. And what I've found to be easiest is if you pinch here on the inside of this and you insert into your arm here, you can actually reverse this by going this way. And this is how you can catch that thread initially. And you'll want to twist it until you get about finger tight, and we'll use the multi-tool from there. So now using the multi-tool, we'll go to the inside channel here, and that is when you will get that tight. And you want to get this pretty tight, but you don't want to over crank it so you can't ever get them off if you need to change them. And now we'll go ahead and do the same on the other side, and we'll get going from there. So one very important thing to note is how the front wheel and the front handlebars stay aligned. So one thing we really want to make sure that we do extra safe to be careful before we ride is we want to align our front wheels with the center tube, the top tube of the bike, as well as our handlebars. So in order to do so, I like to hold it between my legs. In your stem here, there's a little plastic piece you're going to pull out like this. You'll grab your largest Allen key and insert into there. And there's going to be a set screw that we want to tighten as much as we can, and that'll keep our handlebars and our front wheel aligned. So now that we've tightened that set screw in there, we'll put our cap back into that. And we'll want to use the middle size Allen key to just double check that everything's tight on our front end. So we'll tighten this here, on this side as well. And then there's also one more from below here that we'll want to look at. Now this is what's going to be able to pivot the front angle of your handlebars. So by adjusting this set screw here, you have a little bit of play that you can adjust the angle of the neck if you want to drop that forward or bring it up more. Okay, so the next thing we want to check is the tire pressure. These will come with some air in the tires. Depending on what kind of style of riding you're doing, if you're in a lot softer sand, you'll want to keep these air down. If you're going to be doing a lot more road and street riding, then you want a little bit more air. It'll make it a little bit of a more rigid ride. There is a front fork with suspension, so you don't have to worry about too rigid of a ride. These big air tires as well will let for a very, very comfortable riding experience. So these seem to have a good enough amount of air for me in here. Next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and unclip these keys and we'll look at turning on the system. So in the white box is going to be our charger and the charger cable. The charger part here will connect to this, which will then be our wall plug. So once we get this opened up, and you'll want to go ahead and charge the bike fully before the first use. It's better for the battery, it's better for the life of the battery, and you'll get a lot more distance out of the first ride. So you want to go ahead and connect the power into the box here. This end, the small end, goes into the side of the bike here. On the side of the battery there's a small disc. If you slide that around, you can see in there. Put your connector into there. You can rest this onto here, and we'll go ahead and plug into the wall. And we are charging. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is show you how to turn on the system as well as remove the battery and lock the battery. In order for the bike to run, the battery needs to be locked into the frame. There's a small pin on the back of the battery, and when that is not locked in, the bike will not start, because that is our safety mechanism to know that the battery is always engaged. So in order to do so, you will use the key, which is the same key that you will use to turn on the bike. So on the side here, there's a small key fob insert. So we'll go from here to lock. And so from behind here, you will see on the back of the battery, when you do so, there's a small pin that will go in and out of a metal frame. Once that pin is engaged, then you are good to go. The battery is locked and the bike will run. The next thing you'll want to do is then turn your key to on. And once you're on, hold down the M on your LCD screen for a few seconds and the bike turns on. Now looking into removing the battery in case you have two batteries, if one's dead you'd like to swap, you can go to your off position and then into your unlock position, which is then how you remove your battery from that pin. You can loosen your seat by removing the seat post out, pull straight out, your battery is removed. So traditionally people have been concerned about batteries being stolen in these bikes because that's a very expensive component. The nice thing about this locking feature is once you've taken your keys with you, you can't get that battery out of there unless you have that matching key. Even if you remove the seat, that battery must be unlocked by the key. So we're going to go ahead and lock the battery back into place, onto the on position, and we are up and running. One thing you might notice when attaching the front wheels here, and also due to shipping, sometimes the caliper on the disc brake can cause a little bit of friction, which will make a small hissing noise. It's nothing to be concerned about. That will go away with a little bit of wear and tear as it gets broken in. The other way to look into that is you can also make sure that when you attach that front wheel that your disc's evenly dispersed in that front caliper. So when you look into it, you can see that detail. Okay, so now we're ready to ride. So what we're going to do is on our LCD screen here, we'll hold the M button down for a few seconds. We'll see our monitor turn on. And to go to pedal assist or any kind of battery powered, you're going to want to press the plus sign. The more plus you press, the more juice you get. So we're on to level 5 and now we're ready to ride. On these bikes there's a pedal assist as well as just pure throttle motion. So what that means is as you go to pedal, it'll naturally assist you with as much power as you give it. There's 1 through 5 on the plus and minus. You also just have your throttle capability. So even if you're not pedaling, you can go up any speed 1 to 5. So we're on to 5 now. And when you press that throttle, you'll be able to go. So let's go ahead and give it a ride. Kickstand up. We're on 5 and we're ready to go.